Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020. We started TogetherForSharon.com in her memory. Today's guest is someone that is so important and special, not just in the state of Michigan, but around the world, in my opinion. I just wanted to welcome you, Julia. And like I said earlier, when I heard about the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation, in my brain, it was that not only do you do inspiring work, but I want every single person in Michigan, whether they have Parkinson's, they're caregivers, or someone with Parkinson's or not, to know about your mission and your goals. And that's why I'm so grateful that you joined me today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, George. I'm honored to be here today.
Well, maybe we could start from the beginning, and you can, if you can, tell us a little bit about what impacted you, if anything, in life to really get you into a career and a life where we all want to together really the same thing, to end Parkinson's.
Well, thank you. I feel like we're in a club together, George. My father was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease when he was 36 years old. That just so happens to be the same year I was born. And my dad's journey was 45 years living with Parkinson's disease. And I have to tell you that my entire life, I don't know a single day that does not involve Parkinson's. That's my normal. Um, he certainly had his struggles when he was diagnosed. At the time when he was diagnosed, they didn't even use carbidopa, levodopa, or Sinemet to treat Parkinson's. It hadn't been discovered yet. And but shortly after, he was prescribed that medication, and he did very well for a very long time. I will give credit to my mother, who was an outstanding advocate for my father, and I give her all the credit in the world for seeking out all the information that she could to make his journey as better, as good as possible with good quality of life.
Well, I want to thank you for that and send our love to your family. And we send our support always. I do feel not only are we a family, but we have to be in this fight for awareness and hope for a cure. So again, I'm grateful for your time, and I wish could have done more for your family too. But we keep fighting in their memory, so we'll never make sure they're forgotten. So thank you again.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. And I have to say, full disclosure, my mother was an amazing woman and wife, mother, grandmother. She actually was one of the original members of the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation when it was formed 41 years ago.
Oh, that's amazing. And we'll definitely share all that on the website. I want everyone out there to share this, not just for one day or just a conversation, but we have to continually share this until we find a cure. And again, as we get along with the talk, I have a lot more about that too. But maybe you can tell us the shift from, well, you kind of just tell me how you heard about the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation from your family, but what made you want to take a major position from, wherever you might have been interested in school or life to serving the community back again?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. As a child, I kind of got sick and tired of Parkinson's disease a little bit. It was a forefront, although my parents did an amazing job trying to normalize our upbringing. I knew I wanted to go into healthcare, and it was something I didn't necessarily think I wanted to go into anything neurology related. I think there might have been some divine intervention at play. But I went away to college at the University of Tennessee. I'm originally from Livonia, Michigan. When I came back to Michigan, I accepted a position at Henry Ford Health System. For 24 years, I worked in the Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorder Center as the Deep Brain Stimulation Program Director. And it was a wonderful experience for me, getting to connect with all the people who had been diagnosed with Parkinson's, being able to share my story, but really learning from some of the incredible leaders and physicians at Henry Ford. It just piqued my interest even more. And so I wasn't very happy at Henry Ford for 24 years, working in the clinic, working with research, DBS, all of the cutting edge treatments and therapies. I worked for Dr. Peter Lewitt, very well known movement disorder neurologist globally. And then a couple of years ago, I got a call from the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation asking if I would be interested in a position that they were creating called Director of Education. And I don't know what happened. I just had a knee-jerk reaction. I said yes. And it was difficult to leave my Henry Ford family, but I was excited because I thought I had the opportunity to make a real impact on all the patients in the clinic that I had seen. And now I had an opportunity to make an impact on the entire state. And that was exciting to me. We have a fabulous CEO, Kristen Rossi, at the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation. I probably drive her crazy because every week I'm coming in going, I have this idea, and let's do this, and let's do that. And what's so fantastic about her is she's like, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Just do it. And we've been able to bring a lot of programs and a lot of education to the constituents across the state, and even some, across the borders of the states because it's virtual. So I've been there a little bit over 2 years, and this is my final stop.
Well, I really appreciate all you've done. Some of the lifelong work really is amazing. And I think it's incredible that you have the director of education, because I myself with a PhD, I'm a professor in the field of teaching, and I've kind of lived through my students. So what you're doing is incredible because so many are learning from all of you, and the impact that you're making is definitely being shared across the borders and the world, not just in Michigan. So again, grateful for all you do for the awareness mission and movement.
Thank you. Well, I've learned a lot from a lot of people with Parkinson's too, and their caregivers and children of Parkinson's and friends and family. And so while I take the opportunity to educate as many people as possible, I certainly am educated by many more.
I mean, that's incredible. Like we need much more, many more like you out there. I'm in the state of Florida. I actually interviewed the Secretary of State. They have some nice programs, and we have other national organizations, but I still think we need a lot more. Maybe we even need a Florida Parkinson's Foundation someday. So I
Right.
appreciate it. So now what I'd like to do is get more in depth into the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation, and thankfully we have the ability, I hope you can see that, to see the website. So
Yes.
maybe we can start with what are some of the top concerns for the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation? And if you can let us know a little bit about the actual foundation while I scroll.
Sure. Well, the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation, like I said, was founded about 41 years ago. And what we really concentrate on are our four pillars of community, exercise, educate, and respite. And just to kind of go into it a little further in terms of community, nobody can do this alone. We all need to support each other. Someone needs to be able to turn to someone for some type of support. So I'm very proud to say that we have over 73 support groups across our 83 counties in Michigan, both in person and virtual. We have different mixes between, caregivers only and people with Parkinson's support groups, and then a combination of both. I myself run the Livonia Area Parkinson's Support Group, which is one of the largest support groups in the state. Livonia is a suburb of Metro Detroit, a rather large city, but I have 300 active members in my support group. And we have support groups that specialize with veterans only. We have an African American support group as well. We have a young caregivers support group, a young onset support group. So pretty much any niche that anyone needs, hopefully we fulfill it. We also offer a wonderfully robust exercise program. We have free exercises that are taught every day, Monday through Saturday at 10 a.m. on our Zoom platform. And for anybody that cannot make that 10 o'clock class, we record all of our exercise classes on our YouTube channel. So no one has an excuse. You
Mhm.
have to move, right? Your couch is not your friend. All of our exercise classes are taught by Parkinson's certified therapists. Additionally, we have in-person exercise classes across the state. Angie Ludwa, who is our director of exercise, has really made a huge impact by connecting a lot of our Parkinson's certified therapists across the state and getting these in-person classes up and available for people, whether it's power, rock steady boxing, whatever programs that there are out there. She's really making a huge impact so that no one has the excuse that they can't get into an exercise program. We also have under exercise, might as well mention our walks. We have 4 major walks throughout the state. They take place coming up here in the next few weeks throughout the fall. One in Traverse City, one in the Metro Detroit area, one in Lansing, and one in Grand Rapids. This is one of our biggest fundraisers. We are a nonprofit independent affiliation, and we really rely on funds to be able to bring all of our programs and services free to everyone in the community. So we're excited. We usually have a very good turnout. I often tell people, don't let the walk scare you in the walk, because it's really a social event. And then we also have our education. I do a monthly virtual education program on Zoom, 1 or 2 Wednesdays a month at 7 p.m. That information can be found on our calendar on our website. But also, I do a newly diagnosed PD 101 class. I think this is what I'm most excited about in our education forum. I cannot tell you how many times when I was working in the clinic, how many times I would see a patient that would come in and get their diagnosis of Parkinson's, and they were overwhelmed with that diagnosis. They were given a prescription medication schedule, and they were told to go home, try it out, call us back in 3 months, let us know if you have any questions or problems. I almost think that's a crime. When you get a diagnosis with Parkinson's, well, it's not a death sentence, it's life altering. And you need to know as much as you can. And when you get that diagnosis, you're not thinking of all the questions. And most people go home and they click on Dr. Google and they see horror stories, or they see some good information that's out there by like the Michael J. Fox Foundation, Davis Finney, Brian Grant, National Parkinson's Foundation, Michigan Parkinson's Foundation. But there's a lot of information that is not true or available. I mean, true, and is on the website as well. And so, I often correlate the fact that many people who go into the doctor and get a diagnosis of cancer, by the time they leave that appointment, they have a binder, they have their next appointment set up, they have their MRI scan set up, they have a social worker assigned. We need to do more for people with Parkinson's when they get this diagnosis. So on the first Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m., I hold our PD 101 class, which is about a 2-hour class for anybody that is newly diagnosed, that they can come in and learn about all of the basic information that they need to know when they get this diagnosis. This class is also available virtually for those that are not in the Metro Detroit area, although I highly recommend in person for this class. And it's been a great resource, been very well attended. And what's been great is a lot of our neurologists in the community, they don't have a lot of time, especially post-COVID, to spend with patients. They don't have enough support staff. And they appreciate that, and they now refer their patients when they make that new diagnosis to the PD 101 class. And it's been very well attended, sadly. We have on average from 12 to 28 people a month who are newly diagnosed attend our class. So that's just one of the examples of the things that we do in the education realm. We also do an annual symposium every April. Last year we had over 350 people attend. I also do a leadership summit each summer where I bring together all of our Parkinson's support group facilitators, our mentors, and our exercise instructors. And it's a 2-day summit where we bring everybody up to speed about what's new, what's latest, what's breaking, what's important for them to know, how to facilitate a support group. Where do we need to reach? But the camaraderie and everyone getting together, it's a wonderful event. We just completed that 2 weeks ago in Mount Pleasant. So we were doing a lot. We do different education symposiums across the state. We also do our best to educate facilities that are have housed a lot of Parkinson's patients. And we also have a caregiving video set of 7 series videos on our YouTube channel to help people navigate Parkinson's as a caregiver. And then lastly, I would say one of our greatest programs, or our crown jewel, is our respite care program. We offer up to $2,000 grant each year for people with Parkinson's to help with caregiving services. Additionally, we have a medication assistance program and also a local loan closet. So if someone needs a walker, or they need to try it out, or an assisted device, they can come into the office. Or we can arrange for people to get items that are donated across the state. So
That,
those are our main 4 pillars.
that's amazing. I might have to move tomorrow to Michigan. It's just,
Come on.
that's the one thing, as you probably are aware, when you were starting out, I felt alone as a caregiver, and my mother unfortunately felt alone as a person diagnosed. So that's why these programs you offer are so important. Everyone, please go to parkinsonsmi.org. Please support them, whether donation or just supporting them by attending some of their events, or just sharing the website and all the incredible areas that Julie has discussed so far with us. So I just wanted to thank you again for that.
Thank you. And also they could follow us on our social media pages too, like
Funny you say
Facebook.
that, because this is the next area. There you go.
Ah, see,
I'm
we're
not,
on the same page, George.
I'm not logged in, but you do have some incredible, I'm following along, but I know you have Facebook. What, you have Instagram, or which?
Yes, we're on all the social media
Perfect.
platforms. Mhm.
Please share and also like them here. You can see the Facebook page is just type in parkinsonsmi.org. So let me stop sharing that. Now I wanted to get a little bit more on the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation, then we'll shift a little more about Julia, because this is all about you also. The big word in this whole community for Parkinson's is hope. I think if you don't have hope, it's going to be more difficult. My mother had a lot of hope. Unfortunately, when she went into long-term type hospice, they don't believe in physical therapy in Florida, which is a problem, because that was her hope, seeing her grandkids, being at their wedding someday. But when they took away, and as we both know, exercise is critical. When they took away the therapy, which I don't understand to this day, that took away a lot of her hope. So how can we bring hope to individuals, their own journeys, and also what gives you hope?
Great. That's a great question. Well, it's funny you should mention that, because our annual symposium actually has the title of Hope in Every Step. And that is one of our mantras that we believe in. You have to have hope. And my hope is that people get educated. If I can just share with you, when my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's, My mother was pregnant with me. I have four siblings. At that time, I actually have five now, so Parkinson's wasn't that bad. But when she was diagnosed, when he was diagnosed, the neurologist that diagnosed him looked at my mom and said, I know you have all these kids and you're pregnant, but you should consider institutionalizing your husband and you might have a chance with another guy. That would never happen in today's society. In a way, I'm glad that doctor said that because that lit a fire in her to get involved, um, and really seek out what information she needed. And I remember as a child, doctors that would call our home and talk to my mom because my mom had so much education about Parkinson's. She really left no stone unturned. She was very active in the Parkinson's Action Network that used to go and testify in congressional hearings. She testified with Michael J. Fox, as a matter of fact, the first time that he had testified. There's a great picture that my sister has. I need to get my hands on it, of her with Michael J. Fox on one side and Muhammad Ali on the other side of her. And they, she had a belief, and I want to carry that torch, that people need to be educated. While Parkinson's is not a death sentence, and it's a crappy card that might be dealt, it's how you play the hand that matters. And you need to have that education. So that is my hope for most people and families, is they become educated so they can talk about it and they can get whatever services they need to ensure a good quality of life.
Thanks. And I think the number one hope here is that your mother still, again, fights on through you as well as your father's memory. So I'm grateful for them too. And having you here really helps so many that you don't even realize. So thank you again. And just so many more. I mean, like I said, I have to get a ticket to Michigan right after our speech.
Come on up.
Well, here's some, now we're going to shift a little more about you. Obviously, it has to do with Parkinson, but I'm just curious if you could list 3 words that describe who you are.
Wow. Okay. Caught me off guard. Compassionate, um, thirsty, thirsty for information. And I would say helpful.
Thank you. And likely of more, but what is one moment or the one most memorable moment that stands out through most of your work so far with awareness that you could share?
Well, oh, that's a tough one. I've been so fortunate over the last 26 years in this career. I've been involved in research studies. I was involved in one of the first DBS sleep cases in the country. Gosh, there's so much. I feel I've been so blessed and lucky, but I really feel like the biggest impact is yet to come with my role at the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation. Um, my goal and one of my areas of focus is actually children of Parkinsonians. In fact, I just did a virtual education program a couple of weeks ago that involved 3 children of Parkinsonians. And it was just a panel discussion. And I received so much good feedback from other people, adult children who don't know what to say, don't know how to have a conversation with their parents, don't know the role that they're supposed to be in anymore. And even some children who have become estranged from their parent that has Parkinson's because, they believe out of sight, out of mind. I think that's so sad, for any child not to be able to experience a good relationship with their parent, whether the disease is there or not, is heartbreaking to me. I felt so fortunate to have a great relationship with my father. Yeah, he couldn't play soccer with me, and he wasn't a coach of the baseball team. Um, and he had to take his medication all the time, and maybe his voice got soft and all of that. But I felt so fortunate and lucky that, he taught me life lessons. We talked a lot, and I considered it actually an honor to be his daughter. And I still feel that way. And he's been gone for 22 years.
Yeah, we have a lot, like you said, it's similar. I remember my mother sacrificed her whole life. She was a school teacher, had a master's to raise me and my brother. She gave it all up. And I knew that when it came time, even though I wasn't aware of what caregiving even was, or even all I knew was the word Parkinson. I didn't even know anymore, but I knew that it was time for me to step up and be there for her. But I was shocked one night when my mother wasn't doing well, when a nurse said she's amazed that I helped as her son so much, because most people kind of send their loved one away and never seen again, which I was like kind of astonished, shocked, and even to this day I don't understand it, because she was my best friend. So I don't know how I would never not have been there for her. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I do feel more of a family, even more than I thought we were, because we
Yeah. I
went
think
through
that
so
I think a lot of people have, I think the kids that don't really participate. I mean, there's barriers.
much.
People, young families have their own children, they have their jobs, they have their activities. Like absolutely. I mean, I have 5 children. I get it. But I think that they really miss out because of fear.
Yeah.
I think it's the fear that drives them not to know about it, or not to know, or to think about the next steps and things like that, kind of out of sight, out of mind. I hope that we can change the narrative of that, because, in my opinion, there's nothing more important than family.
Yeah, and I think by what you do on a daily basis is going to change the world for the better. And feel free to always send things to me and we'll share them around the world. Obviously, by now, hopefully, we don't want anything in return, but that everyone out there listening shares this, but knows that you're never alone, especially in Michigan.
Right? No, you're never alone.
I
I feel
wanted
like
to,
there's
yeah,
about 38,000 constituents in Michigan with Parkinson's disease, and I hope to meet every one of them.
yeah.
I'm well
Well,
on my way.
Please share that too, because thankfully, I know you're all a big part of it. National Plan to End Parkinson's Disease finally was signed to law. Thankfully, I was a big part in Florida, but it takes everybody, like you said, a community. We're in this together to end this disease. So thank you.
Yes, I'm so proud of Michigan. They stood up and got right behind it too. So thank you for your work too, George. It's so important.
No, I appreciate it. One area I do love, this is my favorite question. I probably shouldn't say it every time, but it's like a broken record, but it's true. Many times you might be the voice and you might be working hard, but as you said today, you also had a personal connection to Parkinson. I wanted to know, and I already know the answer every time but I'd rather you say it, but who helps you during times of struggle? Because you're working with some tough individuals, not because of the person, but because of the disease. I was a caregiver like you. What tips could you give caregivers listening? But the main part, that's multiple questions. The main important one is who's behind the scenes of the Julia show. Let's give them some thanks, and we send our thanks and love to them too.
Sure. Well, my husband, of course, my husband's very supportive of us. you know, Parkinson's doesn't affect just one person, it's a family disease, right? And I am very proud to say that my husband is very supportive of the cause. He often volunteers, he helps out, he lets me do my thing, that's for sure. My children are very involved, they attend fundraisers. I have 6 grandchildren right now.
Amazing.
And in fact, one of my grandchildren, she is 8 years old, and her name is Kerrigan. She's my co-facilitator at my Livonia area support group. She's my secret weapon. Everybody loves to get a hug from her when she walks in the door. Um, but my grandchildren, they do a fundraiser every year. It's a lemonade stand, and they look forward to it every year and they love it. And we hang out our flag, and I'm telling you, all the people with Parkinson's come out, or someone who knows someone with Parkinson's, and I can just see a legacy happening with my grandchildren, educating people as well. I think the other part to this question is support groups. Support groups are vital, in my opinion. If I can just share with you, my mom actually is the one that started the Livonia Area Support Group over 30 years ago. She ran it for a very long time until she got sick, and then I took it over. But my father wouldn't go to the support group at first. He was very resistant. And I think it's pretty common that many people think, I don't want to see something I may become. I think that's just a natural response that everyone has, not fully understanding that every single person has a different journey with Parkinson's disease. But he wouldn't go. And it was like 6 years into the support group. And then he started saying, well, what'd you talk about?
Mhm.
Or who showed up? And then the next thing you know, he decided to go. Well, as he was in late stage Parkinson's, he actually was diagnosed with prostate cancer that he chose not to treat. He was kind of like, okay, 45 years with Parkinson's, now prostate cancer, I'm done. I choose to go out on my own terms. And he was homebound at that time. And you just, as a child, you want to do anything for your parent, you know? So I'd say, Dad, what can I do for you? What do you want? Like those potato chips that you can't have, or a Miller High Life? What do you want? I want to do something for you. What do you miss? And I was shocked because his answer to me was, I miss the support group.
Mhm.
And I think that just speaks volumes to what people can get, what they can learn, and how they can have support and friendship. I
And
think that's important.
a lot of what you say kind of resonates and brings back a lot of memories. My mother was, we tried the health route, the diet, everything, but at some point it was getting too bad with the health due to Parkinson's. And I just said, tell me what you love. I bought her chocolate cake. I bought anything.
Ah,
It still didn't help her gain weight, but she was, the anything like, you could do for our loved ones, even toward the end, is not something I would say no to. So.
right. I
I
agree.
also agree, this is for a different show, but it's tough sometime, even in my case, because obviously I can't bring my mother back and I don't have Parkinson's right now, but there's so many people out there I don't want to have to go through what our parents went through or their caregivers, so that's why I do it. But it's, sometimes people, I just published this book, not sure if you had a chance to see it, but I
Did,
even tell
yes.
some people with Parkinson's to skip one chapter, which was the last year, because I actually put dates and timestamps of what it was like to be a caregiver during the good, bad, and ugly. And there are some people who don't want to know, and I respect that. But I did it more for awareness because I do think that we need more awareness, not just for the disease, but everything that surrounds it too. So, but
I
every
think that's so important, George. I'm so glad that you touched on that because I feel the same way. There certainly were some good, bad, and ugly days. But they were temporary and they don't outweigh all the good. And in fact, now, and my dad's been gone for 22 years now, actually 23 years now. And I don't think back to a bad moment. I think back to the good memories.
yeah,
I think back to our conversations that we had. That's what really sticks in my mind. And maybe that's just the way I choose to do it. I'm an ultimate optimist, so I'm a big cheerleader. But I think it's good that you do bring it up, and I just kept telling myself in those difficult days, which then sadly, my mom ended up suffering from dementia, and I was a caregiver for
or,
my mom,
yeah.
and that was tough. But it was temporary. It was temporary.
Well, I appreciate that. And today is going to be a memory of your father and your mother for all that they've done and for bringing you into the world. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's only a few more. I know I don't want to keep it too long. We could talk probably and share stories for decades and then you won't want to come back.
We'll do it
So,
again.
and I appreciate it. Is there something you might have done differently looking back in the last 10 years through awareness?
Through awareness. Um, hmm, I think that I probably would have tried to get involved politically more.
Yeah.
I think that pharma plays such a great role with the government. And I think I would really like to be involved with getting information out there, accurate information out there to the people that need it.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, one beautiful thing about the national plan was it was bipartisan, and who wouldn't want to end Parkinson's disease? So, in this
Yeah.
crazy culture and world that we're going through with the politics, which I try and avoid, that's one topic that really was a beautiful thing where you saw nothing about parties. You just saw what the end result. Now I'm curious though, because as you know, I worked in politics and I'm a lawyer and a police officer and I have a PhD, but like
And thank you for your service.
thanks. Yeah, well, the most important thing is once you pass a bill, now we have to implement it. So we still have a lot more work to do. I'm very curious the next decade to see, how the plan is actually used. And so maybe you could give us more insight in Michigan in 10 years from now to see how it affects everybody.
Well, I think you're right. I think that is an issue. I'll tell you another, if I can, just share
Please.
one more attempt at getting an awareness out there. We have a shortage of movement disorder neurologists in this country. There's a little over 600 movement disorder specialists in the United States of America. That's not going to keep up with the growth of Parkinson's disease, the fastest neurological disorder out there right now. And people already have to wait months to get in to see a doctor. And in my opinion, this is a huge crisis. So I started a program. It's a little bit of a long game, but and we're in the infancy stages, but I think this is something that's going to work out. 2 years ago, when I came to the foundation, one of the things I wanted to do was to get all of our movement disorder specialists across the state together in the same room. Many of them knew each other by name, but they didn't know each other by face. They might have known each other by reputation or even research papers, but I really wanted to create a collaborative space. So I was actually surprised. I sent out the invitations and I had 48 doctors join me for dinner. And they came from across the state. And while we had this dinner, and it was a great sense of community, they were collaborating. It was wonderful. I wanted us to have a mission, and the mission was for these doctors to. I wanted to hold this dinner annually every year, and their mission was to bring a medical student, a resident, or a fellow to the dinner with them as their plus one, because we need our medical students and our residents to get exposure to movement disorders a lot sooner than what they are in school. Um, and so I'm happy to say that this year we had over 55 doctors come to the dinner as well, with a lot more interest, and it's growing. So it's a little bit of a long game, but one resident who had attended last year sent me an email and had decided that he has decided to pursue a fellowship in movement disorders. So based on having that dinner and sitting with their potential mentor at the same table was pretty huge for him. So hopefully we're going to build our fellowship programs across the state, and we'll have more movement disorder doctors available.
Well, congratulations. And it just shows the impact of just one person and one idea. It's incredible. And thank you for sharing with that. Final question is, if you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
Hope and don't give up. What's your alternative? You don't
Yep.
want to give up. You don't know what's on the other side of that 20-minute exercise or that medication dose. And trying to just surround yourself with people who are loving so you can love back. It's the free therapy that everyone needs.
Thank you. And how can everyone reach you or the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation?
Sure. So the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation, where our website is parkinsonsmi.org. Our telephone number is 248-433-1011. My email is jwall@parkinsonsmi.org. And obviously, you can reach us on social media as well. We welcome anyone to reach out. Nobody needs to be alone.
I really appreciate your time and friendship and thank the entire foundation and everyone involved. It means the world to us. I have a little message for you you can take back to Michigan, but we love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Julia and the entire Michigan Parkinson's Foundation, will advocate for you. And together, I feel our voices are so much stronger. And I always say, I'm just getting started because even though I've been doing it for a little time, every time I learn about you and now today it just kind of shocks me in a positive way. This such inspiring things happening. It makes me want to just jump up and start doing more for awareness, even though there's no more time left in the day, but we're going to keep trying to
Right.
find it. So again, I'm just so grateful for your time. And like I said, everyone listening, please support the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation. Please go to their website, look at their website. I'm going to again after we end this, and then also remember this, like we said earlier, this conversation cannot end now, can't stop. We have a lot more work to do until we come closer to a cure. So thank you again for joining us, Julia.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone out there also listening for staying tuned, for sharing this. There's so much more incredible guests to come. I'm so much more inspired now because of Julia and all they do. So I'm again so grateful. So this has been another episode Q&A with Sharon's son George. Please stay tuned, share, and remember you're not alone. You're never alone, and we'll keep fighting till we find a cure. Thanks everyone.
Bye.